Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on unlocking digital innovation with Power Platform University. We are in each other's company for the next 30 minutes or so, and I'm really excited to showcase our Power Platform community today. And we'll also give you some great insight into how it all works and what value it can bring to your organization. As many of you will already know, my name is Sam Cooper. I'm the head of marketing here at Changing Social. And with me today, I have my wonderful colleague and head of digital platforms, Aaron Gums, who you will meet in just a moment. I've actually already dropped our emails in the chat for you now, so please do feel free to reach out to us via email or connect with us on LinkedIn, and I'll be monitoring the Q&A for you today as well. A quick note about housekeeping, in particular, a couple of options that may help during this webinar. So if you would like live captions during this presentation, please turn the feature on using the settings icon and choose captions/subtitles from the list. You can also set your preferred language for those captions as well. You are also invited to ask questions throughout this webinar, and this can be done by selecting the chat icon and selecting the box showing ask a question. You can then type in your question and choose whether to add your name or ask anonymously, and send it by selecting the send option shown as the paper aeroplane icon. And as I mentioned, we will be answering questions at the end of the webinar. So today we're going to be focusing on the perceptions of the Power Platform. We're also going to be taking a brief look around governance and building that governance maturity. We're also going to take a look at how Power Platform University can help you. And with that, our final considerations and Q&A as well. Now, on to the team. So Aaron leads our Power Platform practice and has overseen projects with teams in the UK, US and Europe, catering to solutions from anywhere between 5 to 10,000 plus users. So under his leadership, we've seen our clients benefit from over 25 years of combined experience in M365, the Power Platform and AI. So now that I've told you a little bit about who Aaron and I are, I just want to give you a little bit more information about Changing Social before we begin. So we are a Microsoft partner focusing on the people side of digital transformation. We transform organizations through world-class automation, AI, and change management strategies to help you realize the full capabilities of Microsoft 365. Our mission is to prove value in days, not months, by identifying and prioritizing quick wins through actionable plans and simplicity for your colleagues. But for now, I will pass over to Aaron to get us started with today's session. Over to you, Aaron.
Thank you very much, Sam. So to set the scene for today's webinar, I just want to talk about a few perceptions that we get in the Power Platform, both positive and negative, and what this can mean when it comes to adoption of the Power Platform. So starting with the positives, when we're talking about how the Power Platform can benefit organizations, we often hear phrases such as better visibility of data. It's low code, so there's less of a barrier for developing solutions. Single sources of truth, so removing that burden of multiple spreadsheets and being able to have a clear understanding of the data that's traveling around your organization. It's also integrated fully into Microsoft 365, so the rest of the services that are available from Microsoft themselves, and also some third-party services. And most importantly, it's cloud and mobile first as well. So there's some of the benefits that we hear when we're having those initial conversations with organizations about the Power Platform. But unfortunately, there are some concerns that primarily come from IT. And in fairness, they are entirely justified. So some of the things we often hear about are licensing costs potentially being a barrier, particularly if you don't have the ability to influence licensing conversations across the organization. Because the Power Platform is one of those new and exciting technologies for organizations when they roll it out to the rest of the team, sometimes it can be considered a little bit of a distraction as well. We're all known to get a little bit excited when we're building our first Power Apps and Power Automates, and that might stop us from doing our day job temporarily. Because we're rolling it out to the larger organization, it's associated with risk and lack of control and potentially solution sprawl as well. So if I roll out the Power Platform to the whole organization, how do I know that everything that is being built in the organization is a good thing to be built, that it's a productive use of time, and it's going to solve a real business problem in a way that's been built to high quality and best practice as well? So They're some of the things that we hear very often when we're talking to organizations about the Power Platform. And if we can mitigate those risks and those concerns, it can be a fantastic way to increase personal and enterprise productivity if it's delivered in the correct way. So, in order to do this, we need to think about maturity over time and building this idea of a center of excellence and a roadmap in how we can effectively roll out the Power Platform in a controlled, safe and secure way without trying to be too limiting to the people who will be using the Power Platform. Now, one of the concepts that Microsoft uses is this idea of the capability maturity model. So the capability maturity model isn't necessarily directly and only related to the Power Platform. It's a recognized model in industry and it's adopted by many organizations, but it fits well into this area as well when we consider a center of excellence. So one of the things that organizations may not be familiar with is, just like many other M365 services that we all use day to day, the Power Platform may be used in the background without your end user realizing it. Equally, they could be consciously building solutions before there's any control put in place within the organization. Now, to understand where we are today and where we want to get to, we can use the capability maturity model to kind of understand exactly how we can roll this out in a safe and secure way. And when we talk to organizations about the Power Platform University, this is one of the ways that we make sure they're set up for success in order to be able to do that. So at a very high level, level 100, we aim to fact find and understand the strategy that an organization would like to take. Not every organization is going to be set up or going to be able to get to level 500 in the capability maturity model immediately, but progress is progress, and it's great to make sure that we have a strategy to increase that maturity over time, regardless of duration. So we discussed that strategy early on. Within level 200, we look at implementing the strategy, and we also make sure that when those actions are taken, we're also assigning owners and setting frequency of activities that are going to be delivered. For example, it's great to be able to put a data loss prevention policy in place, but unless you have someone that owns that and maintains that data loss prevention policy at the same frequency that connectors are published, then actually it's not necessarily going to increase your maturity over time. In level 300, we then look to get buy-in from people outside of the project team who are defining the center of excellence. So we start to see the benefits of everything that's been implemented. That then feeds in analytics into a series of Power BI reports and also some of the applications that were built during the center of excellence. And then we can show confidence to the executives, the people that will have the control to say, yep, we are ready to roll out the Power Platform to the rest of the organization. Now, as we move into level 400 and 500, the activities around this maturity over time become less tangible, but this is when we think about introducing end users to the concept of the Power Platform. So once we've got our success factors in place from level 100, 200 and 300, making sure that our center of excellence is set up and our Power Platform is safe and secure, we can then move on to our success accelerators in level 400 and 500, where we onboard end users. We look for ideation activities such as inspiration workshops. We can set up use case libraries, or we can set up idea forums and things like that, so that people can understand where in the business can we increase productivity, but also do it in a way that's within our control to change the process using Power Platform solutions. So that's how we think of maturity, and that's how we look at it over time in context of building a center of excellence to make sure we're ready for something like the Power Platform University. And as I say, once we've completed those success factors, so the end of level 300 and the beginning of level 400, that's where we want to introduce end users, and that's when Power Platform University is a good time to initiate. So Power Platform University is a service that Changing Social provide. It's the concept of rolling out the Power Platform and teaching everyone to a base level of understanding on the Power Platform, where if there's a common theme or a common interest within the organization, we can take everyone on that journey at the same time together. So as you can see on the screen there, we do cohorts of 250 people, and we actually run that 4 times within a year. So we have up to 1,000 people, which you'll see summarized on the next screen. They then carry out 12 weeks of learning each, which is based on a set of modules that are chosen by the organization. And we have drop-in sessions for 25 of those 250 that have viable use cases that we can turn into production-ready use cases and solutions. So the idea is that as we start to build upon this idea of creating a community, we're starting to onboard end users with the Power Platform. We're able to give them a structured way to learn the core concepts of the Power Platform, and also to understand where they can make efficiencies around the business, all within a community that are learning at the same time. So as I briefly mentioned before, we run this 4 times per year. And within that, that means that up to 1,000 people within the organization could take part in the Power Platform University and produce up to 100 use cases or production ready solutions within 1 year. Now, the reason we look at these numbers really are to make sure that we can scale the service for your organization. As you'll notice from the numbers that you've seen on the screen, you know, they're nicely cut into 2s, 4s, 8s, and 10s and 50s and everything else. It makes it really easy for us to scale this up and down depending on the size of the organization. And what we do is we make sure that all of those activities that take place within the Power Platform University have a limit based on one of those numbers, so that every individual can get the attention that they need. And we'll talk about that in a few slides' time. So the Power Platform University, it contains 4 modules that the organization will choose. Now, we have 13 available modules, and they're based on all of the core concepts on the Power Platform, plus some advanced techniques as well. By limiting that to 4 modules, it means that we get time and attention for approximately 3 weeks each in each area in the Power Platform. And it means that we have that time to understand the ideas, start building on the Power Platform, and then also turn some of those into production ready solutions as well. The modules have been designed so that if we have any particular licensing requirement or capability, we can adapt the curriculum to meet that. So for example, if you wanted to follow a citizen developer track and you wanted everyone to understand the basics of Cloud Flows, Canvas apps, Power BI, and say Power Pages, we would be able to talk to you about the licenses that you have today, whether you can increase those or they need to remain the same throughout the curriculum, and we can recommend other modules if those don't necessarily fit that particular track or that particular licensing capability. We can also recommend tracks based on specific requirements. So I just briefly mentioned there a citizen developer track, but equally, if you wanted to focus on something like information sharing, managing enterprise data, or personal productivity, we have a series of themes that we can offer based on various combinations of those 13 modules. And then we also have the ability to respond to your technical questions with someone from my team. So we will talk about this in a little bit more detail very soon, but we have a dedicated community manager that lives within your tenant throughout the whole of the curriculum across all of those 4 cohorts. And they will be there on standby to answer any questions about the program, such as things like what content's coming up in a webinar, when's the next date for the guided lab session, but also things like, I've got a particular error in Power Automate that I've never seen before. What is the best way to overcome this and how do I fix my issue? So like I say, the community manager is someone that is actually in my team as a Power Platform consultant who delivers these technologies every day. And then also we have, like I said earlier, we've designed the service with multiples in mind. So for example, if you needed to scale either because you don't quite have 250 people that you'd like in a cohort, or you have too many people compared to the numbers that we've shown you before, or equally you'd like to take on 8 modules instead of 4, and you'd like to lengthen the program by doubling the size of it, that's also absolutely fine as well, and we can help you with those queries. So I've given you some headlines on the Power Platform University, but how does it actually work in practice? So we treat the 12-week duration for any cohort almost like a funnel. And the idea behind this is we want to cast the net as wide as possible to make sure that we can understand all of the potential inefficiencies and the ideas that people have for solutions across the business. So by delivering webinars to up to 250 people at a time, we provide the information around the capability of the product, what its limitations are, and also the application in the real world. So we give some people time to go and think about what they've heard from the webinars, to come up with their ideas, to talk to their peers before we get anywhere near closer to the guided lab sessions and the drop-in clinics. Now, once we've delivered those webinars, there is an opportunity for discussing the ideas that have come out of those, and also to fill in some surveys as well to make sure that people are providing their feedback at the beginning of the curriculum. And all of that information will be provided to the project team who are managing the service, and we'll be able to analyse which solutions and ideas are the most viable, or the ones that could turn into production ready solutions where the individuals could benefit from more time and attention from our team. Now, once we've analysed all of that, we then move into the guided lab sessions. So as you can see through this funnel, the numbers are getting slightly smaller every single time. And the idea is that when we get into those guided lab sessions, we have people hands-on, following on with one of our trainers, building a solution that will help them create or solve a use case that comes up commonly across all organizations. So for example, in our Cloud Flows module, the example given in the guided lab session is at 8:30 every day, send me a list of all of my incomplete to-dos and also send me my agenda. So those people that have the most viable use cases, we're then getting them hands-on with the technology in a closed example so they can understand from start to finish how some of these solutions are created. And then we have another checkpoint to understand again, how could we build on these ideas? What have you done so far to understand the solution in hand before we then move into the drop-in clinics? And so when we do get to the point in time of delivering those drop-in clinics, we have reduced the numbers slightly again, but the idea is that we're actually turning the tables around and saying, we're not going to give you a script of what to build, but actually come to us with your challenges that you want to build on the Power Platform. And we will show you how to overcome some of those challenges by building with you live on the screen in one-on-one to make sure they're ready by the end of the service delivery. So that's how the service works and how those numbers come into play. And just to briefly show you as well, this is what it would look like over the course of the year as we run the service 4 times per year within any organisation. So what's included in the Power Platform University? Now, when Sam was introducing us earlier, he mentioned that we deliver on the people side of digital transformation. And we don't just provide technology and then ask you guys to run the service yourself. We very much run this as a community managed service and deliver this for your end users and facilitate the discussion within your tenant. So the first step for us is to carry out a technical setup. That will include applications and a Teams and SharePoint site that will allow the community to gain momentum over time. And as you have those cohorts come into the curriculum, they will be added at those 12-week checkpoints throughout the year. And one of the great things about that is because we're bringing that community together in one particular place. Obviously, for the first cohort, our community manager will be answering most of the questions. But one of the great things is when you see, someone from cohort 2 or 3 come in with one of the questions that a previous cohort has asked, and then they start talking to each other and creating that self-sustaining element of the community over time. Within the interactive elements and the kind of training delivery that we have in Power Platform University, As we've seen so far, we have webinars and drop-in clinics and guided lab sessions. Now, the webinars and the guided lab sessions are really from our trainers to your end users. And the idea is that we're teaching you throughout the curriculum on those Power Platform modules. But then within the drop-in clinics, as I said earlier, the table's turned around so that the end users are bringing their challenges to us and we help consult with them to build those solutions over time. As we've mentioned a few times, we have community management and support. So the community manager, again, is one of my Power Platform consultants, and that will be a dedicated person who lives within your tenant for the year. And the idea is that they remain on standby daily to make sure that everyone is comfortable with the next sessions that they're going to be in, the curriculum content. If anyone's falling behind, that they can ask any particular questions that they haven't quite caught up on, etc., etc. And then also to make sure that the checkpoints for Power Platform learning are not just when you're face-to-face with one of our team members. We also have a little bit of gamification in the community as well. So throughout the community and different points in the community, the cohort will be given access to quizzes and knowledge assessments. So there'll be one quiz per module. They'll also be given access to use case tracking. So where they've got ideas and solutions that they're forming over time, they'll be able to log those in effectively a solution diary, where they can talk about design elements, what technologies they're going to be using, what they need to investigate on connectors and other things like that. Towards the end of the program, we'll have a showcase and graduation. So within the gamification element, there is a leaderboard. And when people take the quizzes and the knowledge assessments and they add things to the use case tracking, points will be awarded. They'll go up the leaderboard, and there's a little bit of competition there to try and get people involved. And last but not least, people will also earn badges as well based on their progression within the curriculum. So in the interest of time, I've got a couple of screenshots for you today instead of a demo. But these screenshots that you can see on the left-hand side are the current iteration of the application. So you can see there we've got the quizzes, the leaderboard, and the profile. And just some of the elements there that I mentioned around gaining points, you know, having badges that are acquired over time as well throughout your curriculum delivery, being able to express where your skill set lies as well, and then having that interactive element of being able to automatically kind of jump from an application to talking to someone on Teams if they look like they have the skill set that could help you if you want to ask them a question. Now, on the right-hand side, this is a sneak preview of the apps that are in development at the moment. So we're constantly iterating through the Power Platform University to make sure that we're following UI and UX experiences, that we're constantly evolving the service to follow up with trends that are coming out on the Power Platform. And that's not just the learning side of it, but it's also the consulting side of it. So making sure that, you know, we're also demonstrating that our applications in the community are up to the standards that we're teaching the learners as well. So just some final considerations for you when you're thinking about Power Platform University or building that momentum over time as you think about rolling out the Power Platform to your organization. My first tip would be to research the Centre of Excellence and the Capability Maturity Model. So the PowerCat team provide a free Centre of Excellence starter kit. Some of you may already be aware, and there is a wealth of collateral in the form of configuration for the Power Platform and applications that you can use either as an IT team or as end users within your organization. What the Centre of Excellence Starter Kit does is it provides you with a bird's eye view that you wouldn't otherwise have within the Power Platform. So at the beginning of this session, I talked about how some users may be using the Power Platform but not actually know it. And it may be because, you know, for example, they've configured something in Teams that spun up a template behind the scenes in Dataverse and Canvas apps, etc., etc. Now, the Centre of Excellence Starter Kit allows you to see all of that across the organisation, regardless of who and where it was created. And it's something that provides extra visibility on top of the standard Power Platform Admin Centre. And it can be a really good starting point to understand exactly where your Power Platform maturity is today compared to where you'd like to get to moving forward. On there as well, just to say the capability maturity model, so it's an industry standard, although Microsoft talk about it a lot on their Microsoft Learn website and in context of Centre of Excellence, not just for the Power Platform, but also Microsoft 365 as well. So the next one I would say is understand your appetite for development across the organization ahead of time. Now, one of the things that we've seen with our existing Power Platform University clients is that when you already have appetite for Power Platform learning and what it can do for the business in the organization, they are the people that will give you the biggest return of investment on a service like this. They will be the ones that have already analysed their business processes and already understand where things could be more efficient today. They might even be looking at Power Platform in their own time as well. So, like I say, understand your appetite for development across the organisation ahead of time, and that will maximize the return of investment when you're looking at a service that helps you to roll out the Power Platform. And then last but not least, ask Changing Social. So we deliver services within the Centre of Excellence and the Power Platform University to help you, first of all, make sure that your Power Platform rollout is safe and secure, and that you have a governance strategy that's put around that, where your executives are bought in and they're happy to roll out the Power Platform. But we also deliver the Power Platform University service as well, alongside our software development services. So we're currently delivering the Power Platform University to a whole range of clients in different industries at the moment with slightly different themes. We see that the most common theme is citizen developer, because they want a mass number of individuals to go and build their own solutions within their own departments and to effectively support themselves. But there are some other themes that come out there, such as personal productivity and enterprise productivity as well. And that's all from me. So thank you for listening, and I'll hand back over to Sam.
Thanks very much, Aaron. So the Q&A has been a little bit quiet, but I do just want to give some folks a little bit more time to ask any questions if there are any. But I do actually have a couple of questions, Aaron, if that's okay.
Of course, so, yeah.
If organizations require, let's say, a longer program with different cohort sizes, for example, can you adapt the program to fit those organizational needs?
Absolutely. So we've actually seen this with some of our existing clients. We've seen it go both ways. So we've had one organization who didn't quite have 250 people that they wanted involved in the program, and they just wanted 2 modules. And because of the way that we split the service, that was easy to kind of halve in multiple ways in order to deliver the service in a strategic way. Equally, we found an organization that needed over 500 people to attend any given webinar potentially, so they wanted to offer the webinar out to the whole organization. Also absolutely fine. Again, we kind of scale it in the other way, so we double some of those activities within the Power Platform University and just slightly tweak it so that we have a moderator in the session who isn't trying to moderate a chat with 500 people.
Great, thanks, Aaron. And I'm assuming premium licenses are needed to take advantage of the curriculum, or not?
Entirely depends. So
Okay.
If you wanted to take a citizen developer or a personal productivity track, you could easily do that with at least 6 of our modules that we have available today. And that would use the seeded capability, so it'd be in context of the features you already have. So you could create Canvas apps with SharePoint lists, for example, but you couldn't use Dataverse. So yeah, we have the option to do either or, and it's a conversation that we have within the initial engagement to make sure they're making the right selection.
Fantastic. Thanks, Aaron. And my last question. So does Power Platform University give credits or certify individuals with any external organization at all?
It doesn't give any external credits. However, the quizzes, the knowledge checks, and all of the delivery content has been created within those exams in mind that we have from Microsoft. So we have the PL 900 exam, which is the Power Platform Fundamentals, and the PL 200, which is the Power Platform Functional Consultant. We've looked at those style of questions, given that we've taken them ourselves, and we've put together the content at those two different levels, depending on whether people want a citizen developer track or a professional developer track.
Thanks, Aaron. So we haven't had any more questions at this moment in time. So if you do have any questions that you would like to ask or to take offline, please do email myself or Aaron after the session, and we'll be happy to assist with any of your queries. Our emails are in the chat for you now. So we do have a few free takeaways from this session, and they include the opportunity to book a free tailored in-depth demonstration of Power Platform University with Aaron. So you can do that by clicking the link in the chat here. After the webinar, we'll send over a thank you for attending email, and you'll also have access to the Power Platform job description to recruit your developers, a research ebook summary on the impact of citizen developer communities, and finally the recording of this webinar as well to distribute however you see fit. So all of which I do highly recommend you take advantage of. And finally, before we close, we do have 2 upcoming webinars as well on getting started with Microsoft Copilot. I know that's going to be a big one for many of you on this call, and how to build an effective digital community in 2024. So to sign up to those, head over to changingsocial.com/webinars and save your seat today. So that concludes today's webinar. Thank you all so much for your time today. We really do appreciate it. So on that note, from myself and Aaron, have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are. I hope you found this webinar useful, and thanks again for your time.